We don't want to be overrun by our emotions, flooded and overwhelmed with uncomfortable feelings that feel out of control, way too big to manage, and confusing. But we also can't just numb, suppress, and deny our emotions, as that creates more tension and stress in our psyches and bodies. As our emotions are shoved unwanted into our subconscious, they actually grow bigger and more confusing. But how do we connect with and tend to our emotional inner world in a way that's supportive and healing? In this body-centered parts work process for effective emotional self-care, I'm going to walk you through a simple, repeatable process that can help you understand and care for your emotions in a graceful and effective way. I'll be introducing you to a paradigm of emotional self-care that's rooted in compassion and acceptance, and will help you have greater insight into the inner workings of your emotions as you learn to process them more deeply. Welcome to Somatic Healing Meditations, the podcast that helps you regulate your nervous system, deepen your healing journey, and feel better in your body. I'm Karenna with Hello Inner Light, and I'm so happy you're here. This episode of Somatic Healing Meditations is brought to you by the Co-Regulation Community, an online community where I teach live nervous system regulation classes to help you find your center, quiet your mind, and step off the roller coaster of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. To make real change in your life, you need to shift your nervous system. And to make real change in your nervous system, you need to regulate regularly. I invite you to join me in the co-regulation community so you can learn deeply resourcing and effective techniques to soothe your stress, strengthen your mind-body connection, and find more peace within. You can find more information about the co-regulation community in the show notes. Now let's dive into this body-centered parts work process for effective emotional self-care. First of all, I just want to say that if you're currently triggered or really distressed emotionally, like you're in the middle of an intense shame spiral or you're completely flooded with anxiety, if for any reason your emotional distress is at an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, I encourage you to do my exercise in episode 4 of this podcast called Calm Down When Triggered. The emotional self-care process I'm guiding you through today will work better if you're below an 8 out of 10 of emotional distress. So I put the link to that episode in the show notes for anyone who needs it. There are different approaches that work at different times in our emotional healing journey, and this one today is more of an everyday deepening process into greater self-compassion and self-understanding so that you can process your emotions more deeply. So, the first step in this emotional self-care process is just to begin to feel your emotion as body sensations. And I'm going to guide you on exactly how to do that. So, bring to mind the emotion that you want to work with today. Maybe you're already feeling it, or maybe it's an emotional pattern that's been up for you recently. So bring that emotion to mind more and more. And as you bring that emotion to mind, your body is going to have a reaction. It might be like part of you contracts or tenses a little bit. There could be a change in your breath or a change in your posture. Perhaps you feel some discomfort in your body, or maybe you even feel numb. And noticing where you feel this reaction most in your body right now. Is it more on the right side or the left side? Or maybe it's on both sides or right in the center. Is this reaction in your body, is it more deep or superficial? or it might be both or neither. And you may be able to answer these questions very easily, or maybe you don't have answers to all of the questions that I'm posing to you. And either way is okay. There's no way to do this wrong. You're just asking the questions of yourself and noticing whatever you notice. How big is this reaction in your body? Or how much space does it take up within or around you? Noticing the height, width, thickness, and shape of this reaction in your body. What color is this reaction? Does this reaction have a texture or a quality to it? What descriptive words might you use to describe this reaction in your body? Notice if it's moving or still. If it's warm or cool or neither. And you're just noticing whatever else you notice about this reaction in your body. Breathing and noticing this emotion as body sensations, just like I've guided you to do with all of those questions. And now I want you to think of this reaction in your body, this size, shape, color, texture, everything you just noticed. Think of this as a part of you that's carrying that emotion. So, like, for example, when I've recently felt overwhelmed, I've noticed that it feels like a heaviness on my shoulders, on both shoulders equally, and a rigidity in my shoulders, neck, and jaw. And I call that the overwhelmed or the overwhelming part of me. Both overwhelmed and overwhelming feel true to me. So everything that you just noticed, that location in your body, the color, the shape, that is the part of you that's carrying the emotion that you're working with. And already this might be shifting how you feel a little bit. Sometimes this process that we've already started helps because when you think of this as a part of you, you're often less flooded by the emotion, right? Sometimes it can feel like the whole emotion is just taking us over, or that we are that emotion, right? Even in language, we say, I'm anxious, I'm overwhelmed, right? But right now you're identifying it. There's a part of you that feels this way. And also sensing it in your body helps your body metabolize and process this emotion in a different way. Sometimes this begins to bring relief almost immediately, and sometimes it doesn't. And there's no right or wrong here. So again, you're just breathing and noticing this part of you. Another thing is that sensing your emotions in this way gives them boundaries and edges, which can give us a sense of containment, which makes it easier to handle. And the other reason that this is so powerful is that if you did get a sense of colors, textures, shapes, images, or whatever you noticed about this feeling and reaction in your body, that is not random. Our subconscious mind doesn't have words to communicate with us, so it speaks to us in symbols and feelings and metaphors and colors and shapes and knowings and gut feelings. So, just like a picture is worth 1,000 words, tuning into this feeling can connect you more deeply with the symbolic wisdom of your subconscious, and that can give you some clues and a deeper understanding of what's really going on inside. So that's the first step, just feeling the emotion in your body and identifying that reaction in your body as a part of you that's carrying this emotion. And now for step 2, we're going to make a few assumptions about this part of you. We're going to make 3 assumptions about this part of you. The first is that it's carrying this emotion for a reason. Our second assumption is that if this part could have let go of this emotion already, it would have. And the third assumption is that this part of you deserves compassion, love, and support as it's carrying this emotion. This third assumption is based on my belief that you deserve compassion, love, and support. And all parts of you deserve compassion, love, and support. We all feel emotions. We all struggle sometimes. No one gets by without feelings that feel uncomfortable and trials and tribulations. So, see if you can approach this part as you would a beloved child or a friend who you know is struggling. And these assumptions may not feel 100% true to you, or they may not feel 100% true to your mind, but just kind of play with them. What would it be like to make these assumptions? Or what if it's possible that there's some truth to these assumptions? So just kind of playing with that. And noticing how this process feels to you so far. Is there anything that has changed in your feelings so far? Is there anything that you're realizing now? Just breathing and noticing. Now, moving on to step 3, move even closer to this part of you that's carrying this emotion. And here are 3 questions to ask to help you go even deeper. So the first question you can ask is, what if it makes total sense that this part feels this way right now? Breathing and just feeling what it's like to ask yourself that question. Question number 2 is, what would it be like to have compassion for this part right now? breathing and feeling that question. And the third question is, what does this part of me want or need to feel loved and supported right now? Breathing and feeling. Oftentimes, a big part of what these parts need is to be seen and acknowledged compassionately. And you're doing that right now. You're attuning to this part with greater and greater compassion. And you may get a pretty clear answer of what it wants or needs, or you may not. So sometimes these parts are so ready to communicate with you. It's like they have a laundry list of things that they want to tell you, things that they need. And so when you attune to them, even in the slightest way, you just start getting all of this information. But sometimes they don't have much to say. Maybe they're not sure how to express it, or you're not sure how to hear it, or perhaps they don't yet trust you. But still, this is the beginning of a relationship with this part. By asking these questions, even if you don't get answers, you're taking steps towards creating a relationship with this part that can support this part, that can help this part move through this emotion. Many times when they're carrying these difficult emotions, it feels like a great burden to them, but they don't know how to release it or how to do it in another way. So just breathing and feeling and noticing whatever you're noticing about this part. And again, our three questions are: what if it makes total sense that this part feels this way right now? What would it be like to have compassion for this part right now? And what does this part want or need to feel loved and supported right now? Now, just finishing these sentences. Of course, this part of me feels this way because breathing, finishing this sentence. What I understand now that I didn't understand before is and finishing this sentence. How I see this helping me moving forward is taking a few breaths, noticing what feels different to you now. Noticing what looks different to you now. And And just noticing if anything else wants to happen between you and this part for this to feel complete. Taking another breath, and we're just going to bring this to a close. Whenever you feel ready, just spontaneously opening your eyes. Great work. So I would love to hear what that was like for you. Please leave me a comment and let me know. Perhaps that was a really big release, or perhaps you just took a baby step towards creating a different relationship with this part of yourself. For me, this is a really effective and compassionate everyday process that just helps me understand more deeply what I need to really support myself and what's really happening on a deeper level inside me. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like to get to know this part even more and do even deeper emotional processing, you can check out episode 5 of this podcast called How to Heal Your Emotional Triggers at the Roots, or episode 16 called Somatic Meditation for Emotional Release. Thank you so much for joining me today. And remember that if you're ready to finally find your center, quiet your mind, and step off the roller coaster of stress, anxiety, and overwhelm, then I invite you to regulate regularly with me in the co-regulation community. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to the podcast and also rate and review it on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. You could also send this episode to a friend who may need effective emotional self-care. And don't forget to join me every Friday on this beautiful journey out of your head and into your more embodied and authentic self.